Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. TCGPrime.com with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as FoulLibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at FoulLibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer patrons Shukong Fu, Vite Ramen, and Maxime Van He. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. DMO73 here, bringing you, finally, our first Game of Gods Revolution feature match. I am on the right playing Zeus Olympians, and I am playing up against Josh Fury playing his Typhon Raid Boss deck. It is his first attempt, and I will say that although we are playing New Frontiers, I will say that the Zeus Olympians deck is built with respect to the Wanderer ban list in terms of things being able to combine. And while Josh's isn't, he is respecting not trying to Dark Wave Echidna me on one, as essentially following the ban list for the sake of us playing here. So we are playing New Frontiers, but we are playing New Frontiers with respect to the Wanderer ban list here, and I got 10,000 life to get through, so let's see if Zeus can do it with his army of new Olympians. Zeus being on the play here, hits that first turn 6-stage stone. Ultimately just going to pass. There's really not a reason for Zeus to ever be the proactive one, especially in the opening turns, especially against a deck like Typhon that has the ability, and when Typhon has the coin. Down we see the first Typhon's Blood here to produce extra will, draws him a card, helps to cycle through the deck. Again, as a reminder, Josh's card deck is 100 cards, so he has 10,000 starting life. So has that extra one. Gonna go ahead and use that to order out an Echidna. Echidna plus Typhon's order means that he's gonna get to be able to reveal three different machines from his sideboard, which gives him a lot of flexibility. This is the exact kind of idea of what has led to the New Frontiers discard 7 Dark Wave thing, which is why these two cards can't be played together in Wanderer ban list. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what he grabs here. Typically, first, we're going to see the arena expansion for Typhon. It is probably one of the most common things to first see grabbed out of this deck. Playing against Zeus, we're probably not going to see Drywing, although it might be a choice. But because he hasn't called Stone yet, Drywing's also not going to get him as much value there. So we do see the arena expansion come down here. This makes all of his machines bigger, makes it so he gets more machines when machines die, and also gives all of his chance quick cast, which suddenly makes Typhon's Blood a lot better, because now you can use Typhon's Blood on both players, on both turns. It helps to dig through the deck and get to the point where Typhon's Blood is making a lot more will a lot faster. Secondly, we do see both different mechanized somethings of Kronos, the children and I can't remember the name of the other one, so just for facility's sake, this is going to generate him 2 tokens, so not just a little piece of aggression, as well as creating things that he can then sacrifice later with these 2 cards he's revealed to make me banish stuff or make me discard stuff. Going from there, we do see a Magic Stone of Infinity come down, and ultimately does decide to just starts to think about passing the turn, and then says, you know what, let's go ahead and throw down an antibody here, I think is what he's thinking at, saying, hey, antibodies would only be 6, but it is 6 damage, and that aggression, you know, when Zeus only has 4,000 life, I mean, you might as well put pressure on while you can. Does decide to use coin here for it rather than stone, which I think is an interesting call. I think it's because at this point with playing antibodies, he's actually at Union 7, so keeping the stone gives him actually access to 2 black. We swing in with the antibodies here, at which point we're going to see a Zeus enters the Game of Gods to go and search for an Olympian. Doesn't have any way to stop me. We don't see a Black Witch come down here, which would be pretty good for him right now. We're going to go ahead and reveal Apollon, and Apollon is going to get rid of that arena expansion. So this will mean I'm only taking 4, or I'm only going to be taking... No, I do think I actually take the full 6, and then I remove it at the end of the turn. So I take the full 6, and then at the end of the turn get rid of it so I don't have to deal with it again. Going into my turn, we're going to go ahead and order up the new Oborozuki. This is very, very good considering the aggressive kind of opening go wide that Typhon placed here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do the search off of the Zeus Olympians first, and then from there, we're going to try to use Oborozuki's effects to peep at top 3, 1 in grave, 1 in RFG, 1 in hand, and get her the tokens. And the reason why we're stacking the searches this way is because what we want to do is we want to get the addition out of the hand here, out of the deck, the arena expansion, and then still before Oborozuki goes off, we can actually use the addition to discard another card, draw some more cards, and get more cards in graveyard to count towards Oborozuki. And the reason why is because Josh's board is very, very wide, and we want to make it so his board is not as wide on his following turn and prevent him from being able to have any real follow-up. So still before Oborozuki comes down here, we discard that Apollon. It's pretty much served its purpose at this point, hitting the addition, and then we get to again peep those top 3, see a Hera get discarded, a Magna to the RFG, Magna and Lena to the RFG, and another Zeus enters the game of gods here. At this point in time, we have 4 cards removed, so we're gonna get 4 counters on the lady, which gives us the ability to put a -8 on his board on our turn, or on his turn, which is absolutely insane to be able to control this wide board and prevent follow-ups. The other nice thing about it is it's not enough to kill the Echidna, but it is enough to make the Echidna not do very much damage. One of the big things about decks like Zeus and decks like Typhon is some of their best things are the enter effects off of the order, and so if you can actually keep them locked to have already committed their order and like not kill it, keep it on field, prevent them from being able to undo it themselves, you actually do take a lot of pressure from the deck. So a -8 is really nice because it'll kill antibodies, it'll kill at least the initial antibodies, it'll kill his tokens, but it'll leave the Echidna so he won't be able to order again. Going to his turn here, we have a lot of cards in hand. We got a 6 Sage Stone. I believe we have another Zeus enters the game of gods, so we're at a really good spot to be able to start kind of controlling things. We see a Typhon's Blood off of the Echidna. Or we see a Typhon's Blood before Calling Stone, which I think is an interesting call. I feel like the first thing you should always do if you have priority during your turn and you're ordered is Call Stone. There's no reason to not. We'll probably see that resolve here. I don't have anything in response to the Typhon's Blood, so it's okay, but still something to keep in mind. Do you see that Call Stone? We have the second order Magic Stone of Infinity. Currently at Union 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because of the tokens and the 2 things that have revealed from outside the game, as well as the addition. So Union 8 technically right now. So those stones do produce 2 Black Will because of Union 7. Trying to calculate exactly how big that antibody is, and he does have 1 extra Black Will. See, he has those Phantasmal Scarlets. Phantasmal Scarlet is an excellent card for Typhon, especially considering if you get that addition to be able to give your stuff quick cast, because then suddenly you have a really good way to remove things like that Heavy Eternal. But this way, he still gets to cast it during my turn. Phantasmal Scarlet's going to try to kill my Oborozuki. In response, we're throwing down that -8. So it is going to kill everything on his side of the field, which actually removes his Union 7 because he no longer has the tokens, and leaves him with just the Echidna. The order doesn't count as a machine. So now he's got blood, antibody, the addition, the 2 things revealed, and Echidna. He's only get 6. Swings in for 2. I say that's fine. We'll go down to 32. At that point in time, recognizing that he no longer has Union 7, I think he's just going to leave up the will for the turn. Abhorrent Revival in the hand there. Very, very gross way to reanimate a bunch of antibodies, potentially. The other big thing that he has to be careful about is if he does make me discard here, it actually accelerates Union 7. And we're currently sitting, I believe, Union 5. currently already at Union 5 because of the 2 engraved, the 1 in removed, the addition, and the order. So potentially, if he makes me discard stuff, he could set me up for Union 7, which he does not want to do by tapping himself out on 2. So he does decide to leave the will open. We're going to go ahead and cast a Water of Zeus to draw 2 cards. We're then going to use the Water of Zeus to be able to play for free Darkness of Zeus, which is a little bit risky because we are kind of accelerating his Union 7, but we're going into that on our turn, and he doesn't have the addition to give himself quick cast. So a lot of the Union 7 stuff that's really concerning from Typhon is stuff more that he's going to play during his turn, and so since we're already in the end phase, getting him to Union 7 is not really that big of a deal. I'd rather remove some of his card options from his hand. Using Darkness of Zeus to go ahead and hit Fire of Zeus. This lets us potentially get a chant back from the grave and sends 4 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. This is designed to help hit Union 7 and accelerate that, as well as kind of recycle things like Zeus Enters for that utility. Union 6, 1, 4, 1 engrave is 5, addition is 3 engrave, 1 in RFG is 4, addition is 5, Zeus is 6, so I just need 1 more to hit Union 7. We're going to go ahead and do ordering the essence of Nyarlathotep's power to burn him for 5, take him down to 95. This makes us our Nyarlathotep, or our Cthulhu token, and gets us the enter effect of Zeus, seeing if there's any way that he has any kind of response. So the way the chants work is because they're ordered, the burn for 5 is going to happen. There's no way he can stop it. There's no response. Priority will pass to him once the enter effect of the Zeus order happens. But he decides, he says, no, I have nothing to respond to it. So trying to pick exactly what the best card to go for here is. And we're going to go ahead and grab an Aphrodite, because we say, hey, you know what? My hand's not super great. I'd rather like to draw some more cards and buffer my life total back up to 5,200. Calling Stone, hitting a epic, the 1 Magic Stone, which is a pretty big accelerator for the Zeus deck. You see I have a lot of cards in hand by comparison to Josh. And this is the other thing that sometimes Zeus will do, is it'll actually just use hand size to its advantage, go down to and have to discard at end of turn, and get rid of Olympians, and suddenly be at Union 7. Knowing that I still have, I believe, 2 Zeus Enters the Game of Gods here at this point, I believe we're just going to go ahead and pass the turn and let the token get unordered. After we swing in, take him down to 89. So that's the really awesome thing about the essences, is the fact that it naturally sets you up for another order next turn because they unorder themselves, and it creates some really, really cool like sequencing things that you can do with Zeus. Zeus is a puzzle. Every single time you play it, the hands are going to be different. You obviously know kind of what lines you want to be searching for, but because every single hand is going to be different and every single match is going to be different, and you're a singleton deck, suddenly things can be a little weird. So I think we discarded down 2. We got rid of an Aphrodite and a Odin Enters the Game of Gods there. So we are now at, I believe, Union 7. Calling another Stone. And you can see kind of in this game, you can see what I mean about the orders enters being so good. You can see here just even in the back and forth of kind of who's applying more pressure is kind of related to who's ordering more, which in this instance is me. He swings in for 10 with Echidna. I start to say, let's try to take some action, but you know what? I say, like, wait a minute, I'm at 52. Let's take the 10. Again, I don't want to risk killing your Echidna. I want to make you have to work to kill your Echidna and then punish it to make it, you know, more value for me. Because I believe at this point in time, I do have a Typhonomancy in hand. So we're potentially looking at a full board reanimate to do some pretty gross things. Typhon's Blood comes down here and produces him an extra will. He's absolutely I believe, at Union 7 at this point. So we're going to see... Oh, maybe not. It might just be regular. We're going to see the Chronos that is to force me to discard 2 cards. He's going to try to kill his own echidna. And I say, you know what? In response, not to the cast, but into the enter effect, we are going to, we've been holding on to him and we have the stones for it now, flash in an Ares. So Ares is going to cancel that ability, but because it's also canceling the ability with J Ruler and I'm at Union 7, it's going to kill it and then also recover 2 of my stones. Certainly can't read the text on the screen because there's a lot of it. But essentially what it is he's going to have to, it's canceling the enter ability unless he can pay 7, because I'm at Union, or 8 at this point, because I am casting him. And then because I would be canceling the ability of a J ruler, or a J/resonator, it destroys it. And then when something my opponent controls is canceled, I get to recover 2 stones. So some good value to be had there. And again, keeping his echidna on field, which is exactly what we want. Not the best hand here. An echidna in hand doesn't really do much unless he can reorder it. We're going to see the second Chronos here to try to kill his own echidna, just to be able to take some additional action. Unfortunately, it does tap him out. It is going to force me to banish 2 dudes, so there is some value to him in that regard. But it will leave him pretty tapped out, which is not a great spot to be against Zeus. Sure, you have the bonus of Typhon has a lot of life, and you do see that I've already lost Magna and Lenneth, so I can't, like, Magna and Lenneth's been RFG'd, so I can't, like, throw damage by totaling their attack. But we are going to respond here to the enter effect, I believe. I don't know if we're doing it in response to the enter effect or if we're doing it in response to the cast. No, we are doing it in response to the enter effect, I believe. Either way, it's fine, because Mechanized Children of Kronos does have a requirement to kill something. It's not a, like, you may destroy, it's destroy. And unfortunately, Mechanized Children of Kronos is also a machine. So if I can kill the echidna, the Mechanized Children has to destroy itself. So we're going to go ahead and order out a Essence of Shiva's power, pump up the token to kill the echidna. So that'll force him to, I'll also get the enter effect off of the Zeus. I am going to lose Ares in the Cthulhu token, but I am just going to leave Josh with an absolutely blank board and no way to produce will going into my turn. So Essence of Shiva pumps my guy up +6/+6 and then has my person fight, or deals damage equal to its attack. We grab Hestia. Hestia is going to go ahead and burn him for 5, just to help kind of soften the blow. It's also very important for Hestia to be able to give that swiftness, especially when you're dealing with a huge life total like Typhon, to be able to kind of set up the puzzle to find the lethal. Takes him down to 84, and then we get Hestia to be able to set stuff up later. Drawing for turn, knowing that he's fully tapped out, kind of checking to see exactly what's in the graveyard. We do get Force Unordered at the end of the turn, which is still great for us. It does mean we get to be, unfortunately, a little bit bummed by the stones, but it's still pretty good. We're going to discard Athena to draw 2 before recovery, realizing that I'm not seeing the essence that I want, which is the one to really mess things up. So we're going to go ahead and say, you know what, let's do Zeus enters the Game of Gods here, just to kind of filter the deck a little bit, thin the deck out. Gonna go ahead and grab an Artemis. Artemis is gonna recover 2 of my stones. Mainly, again, we're just deck thinning here, seeing if there's any way possible to try to dig through as much as possible before recovery. Moving to recovery. starting to think about trying to cast Typhonomancy and going, you know what? I think let's see what happens. We'll go ahead and dig here. Discarding Hestia to try to draw 2, and there it is. We draw into Athena's essence. We can still call stone here. We're gonna go ahead and remove his entire graveyard from the game. Just get rid of it, and then we're gonna use the last 2 will here to cast Typhonomachy, the final duel, to bring back both of us from our graveyard, bring back as many different things as possible. And so for him is nothing. For me, it's Hestia, Athena, Ares, Aphrodite, Hades, Apollon, Hera, Oberazuki, and Feathsing. They all have swiftness, and they all have +10/+10. Hades is going to blow up all of our stones, which is the other reason why I didn't call stone first. It's also going to make it so that his Typhon literally doesn't have text. Hera gets to peek and make him discard a card. But regardless, even just from the Apollon stat pump of 1,000 to everything in the swiftness from Hestia, that is over 9,000 damage, and which is enough to kill him. So I just have to turn everything sideways, and we will end the game there. So lethal, we one-shotted the raid boss, and we move on to game 2. So going into game 2 here, obviously, Josh needs to be a little bit more proactive, I think, a little bit more aggressive, but also really needs to, I think the big indicator of that game was just how long he got stuck on his echidna. So being more willing to pull the trigger on killing his own echidna, I think is, if he's going to go that route, or to just straight up not worry about ordering echidna right away. Echidna without Darkwave is tempting because you reveal so much, but it is limiting in the fact that it's kind of hard for you to kill it itself, and your opponent isn't going to kill it for you. So it can be a little bit tricky without kind of that pressure of Darkwave to justify going into a super early echidna, at least actually in Typhon, strangely enough. So we're seeing that blood. After a turn 1 6 Sage Stone, we hit an ordered antibodies, which is going to get to reveal something else, probably going to be that addition like we've seen before, just to pump them up. In comes the antibody, or the addition. So now that antibody is currently a 6/6. Call a stone, magic stone of the demonic world. Second antibody, now our antibodies are 8/8. Potentially just throwing down 3 grand worth of damage. Don't worry about it, all is well. Especially if he goes ahead and uses that coin for the third antibody, which I think is a little bit risky to go that wide against Zeus when Zeus has a coin, or Zeus has a stone available. But you know, like we said before, the potential here, and ordering an antibody or playing an antibody isn't inherently bad because it's also going to make your later antibodies better. So even if I do clear them for some strange reason, I probably can't clear all of them, and they're still just continuing to buff any future antibodies, which could potentially close out the game. So we do see a third antibody come in here, swinging in with the ordered one for 10. I say that's fine, I'll take it. Swings in with the second one, at which point in time we're going to go ahead and order an essence of Odin's power. So this is going to make it so that the damage is prevented, and because it's a J ruler, it's going to kill it. But before that happens, because it's not dealt damage to me yet, we are going to go ahead and get that Apollon out of the deck and get rid of the addition again. And the reason for that is, if we get rid of the addition, when this antibody dies, he doesn't get a machine token. This also stops us from having to deal with the other damage, because this antibody is going to die. The other antibody has to attack my token, which helps me as well, and keeps me alive. So all in all, despite that big commitment, just a grand of damage and a kind of a recontrolled board state. Does get to keep 2 antibodies though, which is, you know, not nothing. but you know, still swinging for at this point in time 8 each, because he lost the pump. Recognizing that I put the token in the graveyard and not the Essence of Odin in the graveyard, trying to find where I put it. Gonna go ahead and order an Essence of Athenium, just remove his graveyard from the game, just because we honestly just want to order something and be able to call stone and then unorder. Hand's a little bit bunk, especially with this kind of an aggressive early start. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the Mount Olympus to be able to get some stuff, and unfortunately hitting a Ragnarok stone, opening ourselves up for pretty much being killed immediately if there's a pretty aggressive start here, because now at this point in time we have a token. That being said, the token is going to soak up the damage from one of the antibodies unless he has a way to kill it, and we knew that he has not revealed anything else, so he doesn't have a way to, unless he's got a Children of Kronos in hand, he doesn't have a way to sacrifice a antibody or sacrifice itself to get rid of my stuff and swing in for another, you know, 1800 or 1600. So I have to, and he does. He has one in hand. He has the one that forces me to banish. So there is a world here where he could cast it and kill his own Children of Kronos to then force me to get rid of the token. Instead, we're going to go ahead and see him go after the token with the antibodies, and then free reign to get as aggressive as he wants. We're going to swing probably with the second antibody, I imagine. There is a world here. I don't think that there is much of a reason for him to force me to discard, because he also doesn't want to tap out necessarily. He's just going to go in for that 800 damage. Takes me down to 22. He does have that Lucifer, but again, there's not much of a... It's one of those weird things where, because my opener was so slow, it might be worth gonna go ahead and play the guy to... Going for the discard one feels incorrect here, because it's accelerating my own Union 7 when my opener for Union 7 was so slow. I think I probably, like I said, would have gone for the banish one instead. Ultimately, though, he does choose to do the mechanized... of Kronos that's going to force me to discard. I discarded actually a Zeus enters and a Typhon, so I didn't accelerate my own Union 7 there, and he does get to unorder. So overall, because of the opener that came out of my side, it seems like that was the right call to make, and he isn't necessarily as concerned. The problem is here is now I get to start calling stone and then ordering, so I get to do some pretty gross things. Down comes Oborozuki, who we've already accelerated. Once again, we're going to do the search first before we do the peak top 3, and that's because we want to get the enter effect that we want. Hera, time to rip that hand to shreds and see exactly what he's got going on. We see a Themis, a Mechanized Children, and then a Lucifer. Because my life is so low, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the Themis. We don't want to have to worry about him paying my life again. Josh's deck is not built with the Wanderer banlist in mind, so that's why he's playing a Themis. He was just playing it with respect to not dark waving me on one. Still before Oborozuki's enter effect resolves, we're going to go ahead and do Zeus enters the Game of Gods from hand. This is to grab an Artemis. Artemis is going to let us float some will off of the one stone and then recover both Ragnarok and that. We also just wanted to get another card in graveyard, so now we get to peak top 3. Oborozuki's going to have a lot of counters on her at this point. One in hands, one in grave, one in RFG. Number 13 in the RFG. Zeus, Thunder of Zeus in the graveyard, and 8 counters total between grave and RFG for the Oborozuki. Using the floating, we're going to go ahead and cast the Hera. So we're going to get rid of the... I believe we get rid of the children. Oh, no, we got rid of the Lucifer because he can actually impact our life total. And we have a weird way to be able to, with Oborozuki, letting him keep the thing that forces him to banish doesn't feel that bad, because we can just kill his board before he has anything. And from there, we're sitting at Union 4 with a bunch of cards in hand. Using the 2. Oh, maybe. Thinking about how greedy I want to get here with knowing what's in hand, I think is the play. Using the 1 stone. This is the kind of puzzle line that you don't necessarily normally think. Casting the Artemis to float, I believe, blue off of the Ragnarok stone and then recover. And then using the Ragnarok stone for white to cast Aphrodite. This gets us up to Union 6, gets me back up to 4,200 life, and I draw a card. So 4 cards in hand to his 1. Do have a discard outlet here, but I don't think I actually have any other things in hand, or any other 12 Olympians in hand, and I also have an Oborozuki that's probably not going to die anytime soon. And then we pass the turn. So feeling pretty good. Down to 1, potentially 2 will. A lot of card draw potential. Don't have the accelerated of Zeus's, but feeling pretty confident that we're in a decent board state against Josh. As Josh, we know we need to order. We see another antibody there, which will get us up to our antibodies being base 10. No bloods is pretty bad here to be able to potentially redraw. He knows that there is a potential. The weird part is there is a knowledge of a neg 16 on his side, like that I could use at any one point in time. And that's one of the biggest things about Oborozuki in this new format is when she gets ordered, it does not take much to create this kind of final battle wall that can be really disruptive to try to play through, which is one of the reasons why the addition to be able to, do things like Phantasmal Scarlet during his turn, anything to force the Oborozuki to die during my turn so that I can't set up the stat neg on his side of the board is very, very good. We're going to see an ordered antibody come down here, which makes sense. We want to save the children for later. Get a reveal. I imagine this is probably going to be Einsberg as a reveal. The other thing is that it could be an ordered Fenrir. An ordered Fenrir would be nice to be able to turn off the Oborozuki and stop the enter effects and stuff of my 12 Olympians. But the problem is I've already kind of established a lot of Olympians, but it does take away the Union 7 of the ones on field. So that's also not inherently bad. Since I've already done a lot of searching, an ordered Fenrir might actually be pretty good in this scenario. Ultimately, though, I do think we see a reveal of an Einsberg. No way to cast it this turn, which feels a little bit bad. Children of Kronos. Antibodies are currently 10/10s. They have a big board of stuff to deal with here. Being at Union 7 Union 6 kind of sucks because it would be able to set us up very nicely for this Hera. In response to like the enter effects, we could just like pitch for cost. It's something I've certainly done where you're at Union 6, your opponent commits to a card, and then you use Olympus to just discard an Olympian as cost, immediately going to Union 7, so you lock them out of cards for the rest of the turn. It's very cute because pitching the card is part of the cost of Olympians. It's tap, discard a card, so you just immediately turn on Union 7 and kind of lock them out. It's a very neat play line. You do see a Children of Kronos swinging for 7. Ultimately, we go, you know what? Let's just apply an egg 10 to the board. I don't want to deal with it. So gets rid of the antibodies, gets rid of the Children of Kronos, and just clears things off. Ultimately, probably wasn't the best decision. I mean, he's gonna, even if I don't burn all the counters, he's just gonna crash the antibodies into stuff that would kill the antibodies. So I might as well just clear the board that way and prevent damage from hitting my stuff. Leaving him with just 1 card in hand, and at this point in time, I know exactly what that card is because of the Hera, so I'm not concerned about any kind of crackback. I do know that the Einsberg is coming next turn, so I have to be prepared for it, but not inherently something that I'm particularly concerned about right now. Right now, I'm trying to calculate and see if is there a way that I can try to get to a 10k one shot from this board state, because there does not seem to be much of one. He does forget that the -8 is for the whole turn, or the -10 is for the whole turn, trying to force me to banish some stuff. So that's gonna die before it has the chance to destroy a thing, which means that he won't successfully force me to kill anything. So unfortunately, a little bit of a misplay there, leaving him with 0 cards in hand, and completely tapped out. So if there was a way for me to assemble to 10,000 damage, if I can find it, I'll be able to, but doesn't feel very likely with what's currently in hand. Calling Stone, we hit 6 Sage. I'm gonna go ahead and swing 4. Swing 6, take him down to 9,000. I'm gonna go ahead and pitch a Wind of Zeus to draw a card. This is mainly because we want to accelerate and use Wind of Zeus to cast Water of Zeus and draw some free cards. The of Zeus's at this point in time, we know he has 0 cards in hand. The card he's gonna try to play is Einsberg. We can't possibly cancel it or try to remove it from the chase, so Wind of Zeus just isn't gonna do much here. We are going to accelerate ourselves to Union 7 by removing a card in his graveyard from the game with Persephone. We now have the nice ability to be able to pop his Einsberg, and we're now at Union 7, so he gets to only cast 1 card per turn. So if he does cast the Einsberg, he will be locked out of anything else for the turn. Going into next turn, he's immediately just like, we're going to play Einsberg, counting how many different machines he has revealed because of Einsberg's effect. So I believe at this point in time, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with Einsberg, 7 because Themis is a machine. So Einsberg will count for 1, and it'll be -7 to the field. And so we actually missed this a little bit here. So you're going to see us kind of rewind a little bit after me taking some action. Einsberg's stat neg effect to the field takes place as soon as he hits board. He is applying a -7. I start to do some sequencing, kind of like, in response, I'm going to do XYZ, blah, 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 blah. I can't do that. As soon as he hits board, his -7 applies, and I lose things that have 7 or less defense, which at this point in time is specifically Oberazuki and Artemis. I'm going to try to take control of my addition. At the end of this sequence, we're going to use Persephone to, we start to use Persephone to kill my thing and one of my things that's going to die anyway, and his Einsberg. At the end of the sequence, we realized that I messed that up because of the rules game state, but I could kill my Aphrodite to also kill his Einsberg because I want to keep Hera and keep him locked out of a card. So Hera will survive. She has specifically 800 defense, 1 more than he has revealed machines, because of the sequencing of when I'm killing it, like in response to the order to prevent him from revealing an 8th machine. And so I use Athena's ability to target my Aphrodite, who has 1,000 defense, so doesn't die to the stat neg, and his Einsberg, killing them both. And then voila, I'm left with literally just a Hera on field, but he gets to cast no cards. And we'll catch that here in about 2 seconds when we repair the game state. But just kind of explain, and that's one of the nice things about Einsberg, is like when you order him, like he just applies the stat neg. Like as soon as he hits board, he applies the stat neg. So if you've gone wide enough with your different machines, you can clear boards very, very quickly and do some pretty gross things. Before recovery, we're going to go ahead and use Hera's ability to ping him for 2 and heal 200 life. Hera's biggest job is already done. She's currently making it so he only gets to cast 1 card per turn. This is the biggest part. We're going to go ahead and do a tea party before recovery. And then we're also going to go ahead and do a first boon Excalibur Cassius, which potentially is a great way to accelerate. It's a great way to accelerate your Union 7 while also drawing cards. So we got a Hestia there. We're already at Union 7, so it really doesn't super matter. And we also have Ragstone. So Ragstone's going to get us a 5th stone before we even have to call. So we've got Tea Party. We've got, which is insanely good when you compare it with the 1 stone, which can produce 2 will for Olympians. And we have Melfi, and we have 5 stones. Using the 2 here, we're going to go ahead and order out the Melfi, who's going to get to produce us 2 will and draw a card. Getting a Athena. Athena is going to, we don't know what that 1 card in his hand is. We just know that he can only play 1. The other thing is too, is like, unfortunately, when Typhon top decks a card based on how it's built, it's probably an if it's only top decking 1 card, it's probably an antibody or it's probably a blood, both of which feel terrible when it's your opponent's turn. So Athena comes in, burns him for 6. We drain 6. We're going to go ahead and draw the card off of Melfi here and produce some extra will. I believe we produce red whites off of the Melfi. We'll track it here visually in just a second. Yep, like I said, we have 1 red, 1 white off of the Melfi to help pay for, like, the Athena. Use the 1 white from Athena. We're going to go ahead and cast the Essence of Alice's power, which technically generates me the token, even if we don't order it, because of the Essence, the Zeus Olympian thing, but I don't put the token on field. Just forget to do that. Use 1 more. Cast Zeus enters the Game of Gods to go searching. I believe we're doing this to go search for Magna and Lenneth, I think is the line here. Because Artemis is already dead. Yep, specifically Magna and Lenneth. This gets to pump up our Hera by +1/+1 counters equal to the number of 12 Olympians we control, and if it's at least 5 or more, we get to draw 2 cards, so we just get to have a hand full of cards, do a bunch of crazy stuff. We've already lost Typhonomanchy, so anything that's going to the grave is going to stay there, so we need to hit stuff. Thankfully, we have the biggest piece here is that we have the Hestia. The fact that we have Hestia RF removed from game and being able to cast is the biggest piece here. So forget to draw the cards, I think, completely. Producing 2 will, red, white, another red, white, but this is exclusively for 12 Olympians. Using Tea Party to recover the 1 stone. Drawing a card off of the Tea Party. Like I said, the puzzle that is Zeus. And you can see the craziness that is what happens if you slam Dark Witch against Zeus. Like, look at how much searching this deck is doing. If I was able to just stick and protect a Dark Witch, suddenly Zeus is like, It's unfortunate. It can play through it. It definitely has to work a little bit harder, though, when you stick a Dark Witch. Looking at what's in the graveyard, kind of thinking, okay, how do I find 8,200 damage worth of damage here? Because there's just going to be another... I do have the pump from... pump up from... Persephone in the graveyard here. You know, it's like, how do I... where do I go to find the lethal? Casting Hestia with the Ragnarok Stone, which burns him for 5, takes him down to 77. Not 67, Jeremy. 77. Then we're using the 3-will from there to play the Athena, who's going to shoot him for 19 on enter, or sorry, 16 on enter, because it's a 600 plus 1,000. So he goes down even further. And then from there, casting Magna and Lenneth, who is going to pump up the Athena and also shoot him in the face for the combined damage of all of my 12 Olympians. And then Athena gets to swing, burn him for a bajillion, and then hit him in the face for a bajillion because her attack will be so big because I'm putting all the counters on the Athena. And so that is absolutely 100% the way to find the puzzled lethal. All told, it's, I believe... 600 plus another 19, so 25 plus another 14, so 39 plus another 5, 39, 44, 46 damage from the enter effect of Magna and Lenneth, and at that point in time I just have to swing with Athena, and it's 100% lethal. So that is going to be the games as we carry out this last sequence. I'm like, well, I don't know what that last card in hand is, so we're going to take our time and swing with the Athena, who has swiftness, and do her trigger to see if there's lethal. She has Eternal, thanks to Magna and Lenneth. So we'll go in, see if he's got anything. He says no. He dies. And as expected, I think the last card in hand, we'll see in just a second, I believe is an antibody. So there you guys have it. That is the deck, the match. We'll have a Typhon's. We'll have our take on Typhon up on the channel shortly. We'll also get to see Typhon next week, or in the next couple weeks, play against Blue Fox, as well as Zeus Olympians deck profile later this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.